What up, everyone? Switch here, and it's time for another stream. Yeah. And you may probably wonder who else can join in the stream of all my friends. Unfortunately, Game Guy won't be able to join in this stream since his laptop has been having some such problem with his battery. So, if Game Guy shows up, would have been well, I wouldn't say a miracle, but more like maybe just as a surprise. So this stream only for might be just be for an hour, so it's just to depend on that. I know that many of my viewers have been asking lately, "How am I doing?" Or you mentioned once before you had a cat. How's that been doing? Well, my cat actually been doing well, I guess. He was acting up a little bit a few days ago, but nothing major. Just normal house cat, I guess. But it's on. I did actually posted a video about a few days ago or the other day about what happened to Cozy Glow's parents. I was actually kind of curious since my girlfriend actually asked me about this idea, and I was like, "Hey, what happened to Cozy's parents after that she was turned into stone statue prison?" Yeah, there's a good question. What happened to Cozy's parents? Well, there are several ideas about what could happen to her parents. It's very um I mean, we never actually had nothing. I mean, we don't have no information about Cozy's parents at all, like what their names are, or even how they look like, or what they kind of occupation do for work. And yeah, it was a very big mystery and all that. Seriously, it was a big mystery. I thought maybe that was kind of clueless, but in the same way, it was some. It's actually kind of similar to as for Applejack and Applebloom's family, because Applejack's family, the only one we had seen of her family from season one, well, mostly of her extended family, because throughout season one of the MLG4, Applejack's family or at least her parents, was never mentioned, not by name or even like a photograph or anything. And it turned out that the reason why we never saw them is because that Lauren Fowles has no said something like, "There's no reason for us to even to see them. They were supposed to be dead." But how do we even do it brought it up? But then it wasn't until like season seven, I think it is, when the Cutie Mark Crusaders actually got the Cutie Mark. When Applejack said, "If Mom and Dad was here, Dad would be proud." So then it was the mention of that. They were first mentioned, directly mentioned Mom and Dad from Applejack's family. But it wasn't like it only, but later when we actually, for finally the first time, when we did see Bright Mac and Peanut Butter for the very first time. And I will say it was amazing. To finally seeing this mysterious parents of Applejack, Applebloom, and Big Macintosh. In fact, we never knew anything about him. I mean, many characters, many fans within the fandom brought up this idea. Like they can actually came up with different scenarios to what happened to them, and another thing is like what happened to her, like what happened to them, how they passed away, and their names were, and even how they looked like. Yeah, it still is a big mystery because now you know that it's their names, how they look like, but there's still one unanswered major question, which is which is what happened to them? And another question is when did it happen? Well, those two unfortunate questions wouldn't be unanswered at all, since when G4 ended, it was a big problem with that. But it's still at least happy that we were able to see Applejack's family as a whole collected of it, like her parents. And I must say, when they put in Applejack's parents, Bright Mac and Pear Butter, as like the Romeo and Juliet scenario, okay, that was amazing. Right from one of the detail in like the original Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet is that they didn't die, but they literally broke the value. Both sides of families, they literally hate each other. But the thing is, what made the Pear family and the Apple family in Ponyville to hate each other? I mean, the fact that both sides of family hate each other for a long time. But what was even the cause of this family feud in a way? And did this feud ever end at some point? No, because when Grandpa told his daughter Pear Butter that they're moving to Vancouver for more land and opportunity, so this feud between the Apple family and the Pear family, it never actually had any official ending because the Pear family just simply moved, but therefore ended the whole conflict between them. It was until when Applejack and her siblings actually ran into, well, actually it was Applebloom who met Grandpa first. And after that, it was them who actually made an official end to this long-standing feud. So here's the kicker. This family feud between the pears and apples lasted for like only between Pear Butter, Grandpa and Granny Smith's generation? Or has it even, or did it this family feud started with even Granny Smith's parents, which means, which was Applejack and her siblings' great grandparents? We never actually give much an answer to exactly when this supposed family feud even started. We know for a fact that the Apple family was the one who started the Ponyville and as originally. They were given the land Celestia by pointing out suitable land for farming. They started their own small farm and eventually it grew to a small community. And eventually, at some point there, the Pear family moved in, next door to the Apple family. Had they always been enemies? Well, they might actually be kind of something similar if you think about it. The the the, uh, the Hookfields and McCults were actually two families that their two ancestors used to be friends until this one disagreement led to a long-standing feud between the families until they were sold by Fluttershy and Twilight. So what about the Apple family and the Pear family? When did that family feud started? All we know the fact there was a very constant feud between those both families, and that Grandpa and Grant Smith both took part of this feud. Except only two individuals from each family, Bright Mac and even Pear Butter, refused to even to take part of this. And the fact they ended up being good friends, it forms part until they fell in love with each other. And even when Pear Butter said that she'd rather be a pear, she'd rather be an apple than a pear if when she was told to pick side from which family to belong to. When she said rather be an apple than a pair, it was a it was a shocking to her father, grandparent. You may think that it was the end of the family feud when the pair family suddenly left for Vancouver. I may have to say no, because A, they never solved any problem at just before the pair family just simply moved away, and B, it wasn't like the Pear family and the Apple family had no communication with each other since. Unless but if Pear Butter tried to reach out to her father several times. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, considering that, considering, considering for the fact that Applejack and her siblings were actually unaware of any of this family feud. It was actually little them who ended this entire feud when Grandpa came to realize that this feud kept him away from his daughter throughout the rest of her life, and also kept him away from his grandchildren. He never even saw he was even there when neither Applejack, Big Mac, or even Apple Bloom was even born. I believe, even since this is in fact this comic where Apple Peanut Butter did reach out to her father several times by letter, but he never responded. So, is it possible that Peanut Butter deep down wanted her family, that even her own extended family, to be part of the Apple family, to release a finally end this feud and embrace each other as a big happy family? That I believe, at least what I many others also with the fandom, that Peanut Butter had tried to reach out to her father so many times by letters, hoping that he realized he's been a mistake and that he will respond back to her and perhaps come back to Ponyville to see his grandkids. But he never did. And then one day, when he suddenly realized that the letters just stopped, did Harry Potter stop writing letters to him after she never get much response to him? Or did those letters stop when she died? That's unfortunately a good question that we may not actually get much in a direct answer. But if I believe in this, it may actually be involved when she passed away. So it's possible that Pear Butter wrote letters to her dad, grandpa, throughout and ever since from the day when the rest of the Pear family moved to Vancouver, and that she wrote a letter to him constantly, ever since her whole family moved away until she passed away. I don't think that she wrote a letter every single day. That's might have been a bit excessive, but I think it's more likely that she did wrote a letter to him on several occasions, like when it's grandchild's birthday, her birthday, his birthday, perhaps even for holidays. But I never get any response. Some people may think, so if he did see the letters, did he even read them or did he just throw them away or burn them? Some people, unfortunately, who cut ties with the family, even though when their child trying to reach out to them, either they send it back the information, the letters back to the sender, or they either just discard, meaning just throw those letters or packages either in trash or burn it. That unfortunately do happens. It does. So I think. So I may think here. What did he do with the letters that he was sent? I think he actually kept them. But if he ever wrote them, if he read them or left them unopened, That's a 50-50 chance on both. Even if he did. But since he was aware that he had three grandkids back home, at least back in Ponyville, is it possible then that he opened the letters? I mean, it seems more likely that he did. How otherwise would he been aware that he had grandkids back in Ponyville? Since there was no other pair family that was remained in Ponyville. Considering that when grandparent received an offer of a place in Vancouver, but lands goes from long for much unopened land. So if grandparent and the rest of the family left, and Peter Butter did write letters to him on several occasions. He would read them, but he never responded. That is the only logical answer to me. The reason why he never actually responded or even went back to see before his daughter passed away, or whatever, that he actually accepted Brightmack as part of as his son-in-law, it was his damn pride. He was his stubbornness and his pride. Because in a deep in his mind, he couldn't even allow himself to seeing that his only daughter to be with the only son of the Apple family. He he had probably another thought that brother probably would have been much better with someone else. Maybe another type of farmer, but not an apple farmer. But the thing is, we never know for sure. And even how this thing is, if he never opened the letters that he got from his own daughter, how would he even been aware of that he had three grandkids back in Ponyville? Well, it's possible that someone else told him about it, but not any of the Pear family, since the entire Pear family left their farm and went to have Vancouver. And you may wait, and before you may think, is it possible that Grant Smith herself had reached out to grandparents to inform him about his grandkids and even his daughter's passing? No, no. That's no. It would have been a little bit too drastic even for them because a both grandparent and grandparent and Grant Smith despited each other due to the fact that part of the family's feud. Even though the Grant Smith knew he lived somewhere in Vancouver, but she didn't even knew exactly which part of it. I mean, we don't even know for a fact how big Vancouver is. It just you're saying it that. But to leave it at, what about the Pear family or the Pear family? Were any of those members even aware of what happened? Is it possible that one of the Pear family members' relatives could have been in Ponyville at some point and see that Pear Butter and Brightmack have three kids and happily married, and that informed grandparent? It's possible, but we don't even know for a fact that any of this. Like, we know for a fact that grandparent himself regretted that he never ever reached out to his daughter and the grandkids because that when he said that he regretted that. It was shown as a deep remorse. He really loved his daughter so much, but I think that he did that. He received letters from his own daughter throughout the entire before she passed away, to be informed all about Applejack, Big Mac, and even Apple Bloom. Especially maybe some of the achievements that Applejack and Big Mac did throughout the entire life, and also to mention how good Bright Mac was for her during her pregnancy and of her anything. So you made me thinking if he did receive letters from Pear Butter all the way to when she passed away, and then suddenly those letters stopped. You may be thinking, how would he even know for a fact if she was even gone? Well, I mean, Grandpa regretted that he actually ever went to see his daughter and his grandkids. Pierre Butter and Bright Mac unfortunately has passed away by then, but even though Grandpa, by his stubbornness and his pride, prevented him from even return, it wasn't until years later when he was older, when he finally had the nerve, well, I would say the nerve, but when he had the guts, when he was encouraged and was brave enough to return. Even it might be possible he already knew that Bright Mac and Peanut Butter has since long been passed. So, what was his reaction to learn the fact that his own daughter was no longer alive? Well, only one word: devastation. How do you even blame him? After all, Peanut Butter was Grandparents' only daughter, and then suddenly, out of the blue, he's gone. Like, just that, at that, just gone. There were so many things, many wonders, like, was Grandpa even aware exactly when she passed away, or at least how she passed away? But even if he did knew exactly when and how, and even if he did become aware exactly when the funeral was so supposed to be, that unfortunately, even if he did knew when this funeral was supposed to be happening, that also prevented him from even be present at his own daughter's funeral. Not because of his pride, but of him being stubborn, but that he also didn't want to cause any disturbance among the Apple families. Especially, especially that that Big Mac Applejack had never even met him. They were even probably even they were probably clueless who he even were. They had only been aware about Grant Smith and other extended Apple family members. But then, what about Apple Bloom? Well, Apple Bloom may have been way too young for even to remember Grandpa if he did show up. I mean, can you even imagine Grant showing up at the funeral and Grant Smith seeing him, shooing out, telling him to leave, and telling him that he is too late to even reconcile with his own daughter because it's way too past for that. And even though Applejack and Big Mac, who may actually been old enough to even understand this, well, at least old enough be able to communicate and also get some basic understanding who he is, they probably like asking, who is he? And even though if Grant Smith never told them that that is their maternal grandfather, so if grandpa were present at his daughter's funeral, he probably wouldn't even be like among the guests. It's more likely that he would just be present in a distant, observing, not be bothered, since it's very clear that even after all this happened, he regretted his choice not to reach out to his daughter long before all this. At least he was aware that he had two granddaughters and one grandson, but that, despite his stubbornness, never even get much into this open up to realize his mistake and Bright Mac as part of family. But it's just some generations when they are too sonic too stubborn, it's a stubbornness that can last for years. and sometimes may never actually go away at all. But eventually, Grandpere took enough courage. He went back to Ponyville, put as a claim when he met Applebloom, and when he was approached by even Big Mac and Applejack, when they asked that when they asked him if he already knew who they were, which he confirmed. He actually even regretted that. He even mentioned that he regret that he never reached out to his daughter. It's clear that he did was informed about his daughter's life after her family left until she passed away. At least the grandparent was familiar about having two granddaughters and one grandson. But it took him years before even to reconcile with his the stubbornness and all this. But at least he made peace. He officially ended the family feud between the pears and apples with Grant Smith. Even Grant Smith herself had realized this stubbornness of his led him to be so apart from his own daughter for such a long time. It's just how things are. And I think it's probably for the best that he just simply feel remorse, even though he may never see his daughter until he passed away. So, yeah, to see our own Romeo and Juliet, Romeo and Juliet, our own to see our own Romeo and Juliet pony versions style as an episode was absolutely lovely. I loved there's a whole episode of seeing Applejack's family, or at least her parents, to make an official appearance at. Because before Applejack's parents was never even ever shown. The rest of the main six family was actually also kind of a bit mystery because A, Pinkie Pie's family was the first to be introduced, then Rainbow's, Fluttershy was probably like the last one until Big Applejack's family, Twilight's family, even Rarity's parents was also in the early seasons. But there was many because ever since we saw Twilight, Fluttershy, Rainbow, Rarity's family, and Pinkie's, but Applejack's, that remained as a big mystery until we saw them for the first time, and also only time we saw them. But then there was another Scootaloo. Scootaloo is a very beloved character among many fans because she is her like Rainbow, stubborn, dedicated to not only her friends but help others. And even though that is a more like official that Scootaloo is handicapped, which means that she won't be able to fly ever. But let's see further this detail. If Scootaloo would have learned how to fly when she much later, when much older, let's see if Scootaloo finally learned to fly the time when Twilight put the magic in the magical crystals, those Unity crystals. When that happened, Scootaloo wouldn't be able to fly anymore. Because now it turned out that it seems turned out that eventually that when Twilight put all the magic in all the equestrian magic in those Unity crystals, the unicorns lost ability to use magic. Pegasi lost the ability to fly and walk among the clouds. That was actually was confirmed by even from one of the recent comics of the G5, where an older Rainbow did confirm that when Twilight put the magic in those crystals, the Pegasus lost the ability to even walk among the clouds and even fly. From that same moment, the Wonderbolts also ceased to exist. But there were many questions about, well, like, also within the G5, like back in the Make You Mark, like, and even as in the first movie, Sunny's father, Argyle, passed away at some point. They never explained or at least confirmed exactly how or what he died from and when. They only never said exactly like how much time passed before she sent that lantern away from the lighthouse, and until when she's older. There's like a big age time skip in that. So we don't even know for in fact what killed or what Stannis' father Argyle died from, or at least exactly when he died. And for what to make you mark, there wasn't a main question. And even when Stannis did mention Tale that she's the only one left of her family, what about her mother? Well, we never knew anything about Stannis' mother at all. I mean, considering that she never made any reference, like directly or indirectly mentioned by name or anything, until towards the end of Tell Your Tale when she finally had her own appearance. But even for just one episode, she made her mission to track down something or someone that could help to return the magic. But exactly what it was or who, it was never explained. And we don't even know if Santa's mother even were alive when by the time of Make You Mark series happened. It was a big mystery. Many wondered what happened to Santa's mother. There were no like any photos of her and her dad with Sunny as a filly on the walls. We only saw only one photo. It was of Sunny and Argyle together, but not the mother. It was a big mystery. And frankly speaking, I wondered myself exactly when did her mother died. Well, we know that for a fact that her mother didn't die when she was an infant or like when she was a baby, but in fact her mother just left. And no, it was like that they were divorced or anything. Just like I said, her mother went on a mission. She was hoping to find something or someone that could return some of the magic in Equestria. But exactly who or what, it was never explained in detail. It's just how things were, at least in back then. Another thing is, like when I said mentioned about that fear video about Cozy. Ever since she was put in the Taurus, that prison was specifically designed to keep them inside. Because when I first heard about this, were they does all everyone in the Taurus allowed to just walk around freely? No, they were actually placed in cages inside the prison. So basically, anyone can enter the Taurus, but they can't leave. That's the thing. The doorway or the entrance to the Taurus is one-way trip. So here's the kicker. As you know, in the season when Cozy did explain that she was the pen pal with Tyrek, of all characters, Tyrek, how? How the hell did she even actually be a pen pal with Tyrek? Because here's an explanation to this. Don't worry. Cozy were familiar that Tyrek was sent back to Taurus again for a second time, and since This happened before Cozy even moved to Ponyville. So how did she even reach out to Tarek in the first place? It's impossible to say exactly. But there are some key parts in this. Like, for example, even if that happened that they were able to send letters back and forward, one, how did Cozy even get her letter inside? Like I said, the doorway is one-way trip. So if the male ponies like Dorothy goes there, they won't be able to leave. Unless there's on some sort of secret exit somewhere only the male ponies and like Luna Celestia are familiar with. And you may think, okay, so if the male pony is a unicorn, like say Starlight or something, very strong, very talented, goes there, deliver the mail, but then they're stuck. Can they use simple, oh right, teleportation spell? No. I think that the Taurus was so specific designed to keep anyone inside it. That means if ponies were trapped inside, like unicorn or perhaps even alicorn, wanted to use it to just simply teleport, I don't think that would work. I think that's actually some sort of magical barrier or shield that literally was designed to prevent anyone from teleport from within or even or even in, since the doorway was the only entrance. So how did the mail ponies deliver the mail to Tirak in the first place? And how would he even have his mail delivered out? Since the doorway to Tartarus was only one-way trip, it's impossible for just simply them to pull the mail ponies to like have a special key or some sort of magical item that makes them possible to open door from within and let them out. It's really impossible because as the main six went there, they used a big magical crystal in order to open the door. But that's just it. The doorway is open from the outside and not from inside. And even if like then it hit me today, if when Tarek and Cozy were responding to each other by letters, and since Tarek was placed in a cage, how did he have those mail left the Taurus? Well, I mean, it's not like he can just since his cage was placed quite a distance from the entrance. So, like, if it was possible for him to put the letters in some sort of box by the entrance, so the male ponies could just grab them and leave. I don't think any male pony would even be so stupid to just literally walk up to him in the cage to take the mail, because he could drain the magic from any pony, no matter if they're a unicorn, Pegasus, or Earth pony. But there is another really good question. Since they were using scrolls, quills, in order to write messages, like the one Twilight did with Celestia, and when the main six were in the Taurus talking to Tirek, I did notice one thing. There were no signs of any personal items, like no books, no sort of games, but certainly no scrolls, no quills, not even ink. So how it was even possible for him to make? And it's like you may think he had to put those away somewhere on him, and how? He didn't even have pants. It's like no pockets, and he certainly didn't have a backpack or a sandal bag to put his items in. So how would he even make his letters or his scrolls happen to just appear and then send them. You may think he had magic. Well, yes, he did have magic, but the magic was only very faint. He gets stronger and stronger by absorbing magic. But despite if he absorbed enough magic, he can't literally control, he can't even like using magic in the same way as unicorns does to summon things. And even if the magic, I doubt that he can even use enough magic to teleport or something. So how did he even get the scrolls in order to talk to or is corresponding with Cozy in the first place? That's a good question. Like in his cage, it was clear there was no items at all, like none. And how even he was able to respond to Cozy by letters. And the first is there's like, and since ponies are aware that Tyrek absorb magic from, no matter if you're an Earth pony, unicorn, or Pegasus. So it's like that the ponies work in the mail service wouldn't even be stupid enough to even walk up his cage because he would have just absorbed the magic from them directly, even only they're only less than a feet away or even up close. So how did then even those letters even happen to show up in Tartarus and for him to respond back? Even when he talked to Main Six, he confirmed that he was the one who helped her come up with this idea. But it still doesn't give him much an answer to how Tyrek was able to send his letters out from Tartarus. It's a good question because as when the Main Six did talk to him, there were no signs of any personal items, and he could even just open the cage door and leave. No, it's not like that's possible. But I did notice one thing: Cerberus, the three-headed dog, who made an appearance in early seasons. Sure hell, he was even present in Tatars at all, or was he? I. It happened a while since I even saw the episode, but if it did, well, it's certainly a long time ago I saw that episode. But as for Main Six, when they find out Cozy was the one who caused this magic to simply vanish, and the fact that even when both Rarity and Twilight tried to use their magic to open the door, it was pointless. Their own magic had been drained. But luckily, Twilight was able to convince every single creature, include a manticore, a bugbear, and a few others, include Tyrek, after being annoyed by Pinky, who said that now that we've been trapped there, they will be there forever, which annoyed him so much. So he was willing to give up every single the magic that he had left to Twilight, even if it was only for temporarily giving her enough magic to open the door, but only enough for long enough to open it. So I think, like, and still again, how did Tyrek could even write letters to Cozy? It's like he didn't have any personal belongings because there was no signs of any scrolls or anything in his cage. And even how the male ponies even to enter was also a big mystery. Like anyone can enter, sure, but leaving, that's the harder part. It's very difficult to just simply just walk out. If it was that pure simple to just walk out, if Tyrek was able to open the door or his cage door and just say, all right, I can just walk out, that would have been stupid. But yeah, so how he was able to write letters without actually have scrolls, they're like he didn't even have any visitors. And how he would even get the mail in the first place, since ponies were familiar that Tyrek absorbed magic even from a short distance. So they're like Nope, I'm not even stupid enough to get even close to that monster to get my magic stolen. So, and there isn't like he is just can just walk to this uh, sort of sort of pin box or mailbox and just get it. I mean, there was like, oh yeah, he had this mailbox by his cage, and the unicorns who has been assigned to this use the magic to put the the layers in his mailbox, and then they can just walk away from a shore for a long distance. I mean, sure, that might be a more explanation, but there's only one problem. There were no mailbox by his cage when we saw that, at least for what I can say. Oh man, so yeah, so it basically saying it's a big mystery. How Tarek was able to get any alerts out or he even get them inside, yeah, it's a big mystery. It's it was never explained as much in detail, but the problem is that they when they made these type of things, they never go into such deep details. Sometimes they just only go into focus on the most important, not by not the slightest detail. That's unfortunately it's a big problem for different shows, but hey, at least it works though. Hey, Athena, welcome. Has been a while since you showed up. But yeah, so like I said, how did Tirek even get the mails? No one, no one knows, and how he was able to write them without any scrolls. Yeah, that's a big mystery. And how the males even enter, or the male ponies just walk in, but they can't walk out. Yeah, so not again, big mystery. Um, and also, Athena, you may wonder where is Game Guy? He's just like, oh yeah, he should probably be here by now. That's the problem. The thing is, his computer is, or his laptop in, had been a pain in the butt. Mostly due to the fact that the laptop's battery had been acting up for him. But he's able to do stream on his own if it's if um, if he's lucky enough. Yeah, I have a list similar to that, but Elite, hey, I'm not alone here because I have this Knockout. If you want the list, it's Malachite. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to interfere when you were explaining everything about Tarek.
Yeah, I mean, you had to agree on that. Like, how did he even get the mail in? And I mean, as you're familiar, that the doorway is only one way trip. So if any of the male ponies walk
Um,
in, how did it get out? Oh man.
could one other explanation could have been what if he somehow managed to, like get the letter to, like float over to one of the creatures that to one of the other locked up creatures, and they could have had some kind of a little bit of teleportation power, it not be
That
detected.
I mean, true, but it's the thing is, I don't think that even if the words on the creatures there had this hidden or secret teleportation ability or spell or the duo, I don't think that they can just simply just teleport in and out, since I think that the Taurus has this magical barrier that would prevent anyone from enter in or out by mad teleportation, no matter if it was a spell or if it's a natural ability. I think that's what the problem was designed for. But even so, um, but if there was like that, if there was no any creature available to do so, because most creature, everyone there in that prison actually was in cages. including Cozy when she was there. So, and even so, how did Tara Gavin get the supplies for scrolls, ink, and quills? And and like I said, how would they been that even sure the door? Okay, the main things needed a crystal to open. It is required every time for anyone to enter. They need some sort of magical crystal just to walk in. Um, I don't even know that for a fact. I know for only that the main six needed this magical crystal, but that was because that the magic was almost gone. So maybe, so maybe that, so perhaps it was only that. But since I remember now that the doorway had this outcut that was in the shape of a diamond or something, so it's possible that it's required to open the door is a magical crystal, and those crystals they literally get destroyed after being used once. But it still doesn't even answer how did they leave. That's the question. And I actually I can't even come up with any good answer for that since uh it's yeah, it's a big mystery. And how Malachi been doing? I think he's doing well. Just the usual, doing a lot of Mountain Dew, Pepsi, and if like, hey, what about Dr. Pepper? Yeah, personally, I am not that much a big fan of Dr. Pepper. Tried? No. Oh, Athena, you may get a laugh of this one. If you may have seen on okay trying to be better to explain it. Right. So basically, on your channel, you can see in this overview of you can see if people comment if you have videos and like that. And there's always if there's that person is a subscriber to you, you can see there's a red marker of the YouTube symbol to saying that that's a person that's subscribed to me, and that if you move the arrow the to that marker, you can tell how long the person has been to subscribe to you. And I did that about a few days ago, and I did so notice there were at least one person that had put a comment to one of my videos, and I was like, okay, another one. So, and when I looked at this, because when I noticed that they're supposed to be subscribed to me, but the kicker, when I went to answer the comment, the comment was there, but the red marker to suppose for saying it was a subscriber, it wasn't even there anymore. So I went back, but there was one detail I actually noticed that this particular marker said that this individual YouTube account had been subscribed to me for quite a long time, since my channel had been around since 2008. So that's about 17 years, nearly 17, give or take, 18 or like that. But this particular individual, when I noticed when I put the marker to see how long this individual has subscribed to me, it said not 2 years, not 5 years, but it said 55 years. Yeah, that marker when you can, like I said, if you go to YouTube channel and go into this oversight, and you can see if you made videos or anything, and you have someone subscribe to you, comment, you have this red marker, and by just clicking on it, or at least move the arrow, you can tell by seeing how long that person has been subscribed to you. It it will later say if it's a few days, or if it's a month, or even several years. But the kicker is, it said 55 years. And it's literally impossible for many reasons. Yeah, it said 55 years that this person has been subscribed. It's basically impossible because if it is true, the person that comment person would have been subscribed to me since 1970. But that is physically impossible. Here's why. YouTube was established as a website in 2005, so about 20 years ago. And and this was also, and if this is true, that was, that account said would have been 20 years before even I was born. I was born in 1990, not 1970. But even if this was true, I would have been, that would have been, I would have been alive much earlier because if I would have been 30, almost 35 in 1970, would have been born in 1935. And if I was born 1935, I would have been 90 years old. And that is physically possible. So I was like, when I mentioned this to my girlfriend, like 55 years, that is impossible. And I would have told it to Kulu, to Malachite, and Game Guy on Discord. They all said the same thing. Like, how the, excuse my French, how the hell is that even possible? Because I said, YouTube has only been around since 2005. So how how could this individual be subscribed to me for 55 years? It's I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, what the? Okay, it was yeah, it was I I have no answer. It was like that was a pretty freaky. But yeah, I like, but at first maybe that probably like a glitch. But but then only about a few days after that, surprising happened. I got another account, another subscriber, and this individual had been subscribed to me for at least about 4 years. But that comment this person said also said 55 years, and there was another, a third account. But if the thing is, that person wasn't even subscribed to me, but it said still again with the red marker, it said 55 years. So if there's a glitch, I have no idea. But that hasn't even happened again for the past few days. But still, I mean, the first time when I saw this, like I always going to my when I on my YouTube channel, I always going to see if there's new comments. And when I noticed it, a YouTube account and a red marker just to represent if the person is subscribed to me. So I went to just click on or listen. Okay, I wasn't click, but I moved the arrow to that, and it that said 55 years. So it's physically possible for that to be that, because first, YouTube was established in 2005, so about 20 years ago, not 50 years ago. And not a small detail that many people probably even know, but YouTube or its internet didn't even exist back in 1970s. When it was established in the 1990s, it wasn't even that the general public had even had access. Majority of the general public didn't have access to the internet when it was first released. I mean, it seems that many people didn't have personal computers, and yeah, it took time for most of the people in the time to get one and have access to internet. But now, over 20 years later, everyone has. Well, technically everyone has it. It's still people that don't that like the Amish. They don't even have any internet or something like that. Um, how long was I subscribed for? Well, like I said, I can see when someone is subscribed to me by that red marker by just moving the arrow to that marker that it will tell. And last 2 years, but the thing here, when I do go, when I see one of your comments, I don't see the marker anymore. So it seems that are no longer subscribed to my channel, but I don't know. Maybe it's a glitch, or maybe you just unsubscribe to me, or maybe it is just not showing anymore. But if you are subscribed to me still, but your marker doesn't present even showing that, that still is kind of mystery because others who have been subscribed for a while, their markers showing that they are subscribed and also telling exactly how long. But as so far, you're the only one that is, at least I can tell, that hasn't even had a marker. Maybe it was just a glitch. And I was like, okay, if she had unsubscribed to my channel, that's fine. I'm like, if Athena doesn't want to be subscribed to me anymore, that's fine. That's up to her. I can't force her to be subscribers. But if she still wants to be follow my channel and all, sure. I mean, I can't really force anyone to do that. So but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still, when I saw that marker said 55 years, I was like, how the hell did that even happen? Like, what? How? When? Or at least how? Since because I wasn't even born then. You weren't even born by then. And most of our friends weren't even born by the time. And YouTube wasn't even a thing back in the 1970s. I was like, what the? Yeah, I can't even tell exactly what that were. If that was a glitch, that sure is a goddamn good glitch. Oh man. But even if I did want to ask my dad for help on it, I don't think he can do anything since that's a website, not a program so that well, might be doing. But still, like 55 years, you can only imagine, like, when I saw that was a. And that was like that was a clear wake up call. Like, so someone who's been subscribed to me for 55 years, that's physically possible because YouTube was able to think back in the 1970s. Oh man, that was that gave me both as a shocker and also a bit of a laugh. Oh
you,
man,
you should have asked what kind of time machine did you use?
exactly. Because I mean, you guys bro, like, I feel like when I saw that, when I told you guys about it, and like, I was like, they probably won't even believe me. So I tried to screenshot that several times, but uh, yeah, it didn't work. But trust me, it did say 55 years. Once for one individual, then for one who has actually been subscribed to me for the past 4 years, and another one, but still, seeing three accounts saying that this person had been subscribed to me for 55 years, it was I was pure shocker, but I wasn't even angry. I was like, I was merely in shock. I was like, how? I mean, it's just, it hasn't even happened since though, but still, 55 years. I mean, it's kind of been a big mystery. Like, how do you even explaining that someone who has been subscribed to you since for 55 years, for almost 60 years, and the fact that YouTube hasn't even wasn't even a thing then, and I don't even know if the creators of the website was even born in 1970, or if they were born but they were way too young for even to have this, and just been saying this. Internet as a whole concept was probably like not even something that people even thought of to may even existed. I mean, if you think about it, many things that we had only imagined is going to happen with the next in the early 21st century, 21st century, in early 2000s, when like flying cars, travel, we have space stations all over in this in our solar system. We have colonies on Mars, we have colonies on the moon, we have perhaps even travel to the as far edge of our own system, and but if you think about some of the movies that say that literally showing like a Star Wars, when you see that you're talking when Darth Vader is talking to some of the officers in on the screen in Empire Strikes Back, that technology did exist. That technology did exist until much many decades later. Like even FaceTime or video call didn't exist. Video phones, like in I mean that type of things didn't exist, and it sure was a kind of so surprising. And even back when in early 1800s, when let's say Jules Verne, when he wrote his books about say uh, 20,000 League Underwater, the ocean or undersea, when Captain Nemo and the Nautilus. Yeah, that was another one. And when he wrote the story about they launched a rocket to the moon, that was centuries. That was at least more than a century before the actual Apollo mission. How some things like some scientists, some authors, even as more than a century before, could even imagine some things could happen, and sure enough did. And and someone like and and some of the things that we have seen in science fiction movies, or like say in Star Wars, what is when Darth Vader is talking to that Imperial officer in a FaceTime call like that, which was not much. It didn't even exist back in the 1980s. That didn't happen much many years later. But the concept of things like in science fiction, so much of those things actually happen to be real, like happen in at some point later on. So it's a big kind of like it's scary, but also fascinating that we were able to develop technology based from that only happened in science fiction movies or in books. I mean, can you even imagine? Because back when Jules Verne wrote, when he wrote his book about the first rocket to be sent to the moon, that was more than a century before it even happened. And shocking. We have been to the moon. We have been able to send people into space. And even back in the 1950s and 1960s, well, in the early 1960s, just shortly when the space age started. It was then when, that was also before we even landed on the moon. There were even before then and even after Apollo missions was over, the concept of having people living in orbit in small to giant space stations. It was still hasn't even been I mean, if we were still working on developing space rockets that took us to the moon, we were still in our early development of such things. It wasn't until like in much near the end of 1960s and early 1970s when the first space stations really much happened. And even our current space station we have right now will eventually retire. And that is the thing. It was supposed to be gone retirement back in early 2015, but they extended this life's mission to the 2020s. And again, it has been extended, but this final date is 2031, and they're planning to let the entire station to burn up in the atmosphere. You may wonder, that is a huge space station. Are we supposed to be getting word about that follow us? Not really, because every single thing that they burn up in the atmosphere, like the previous space station, like the Russian space station Mir, Skylab, and others, they usually end up in the ocean. And there were actually earlier this year, I don't know many people knows about this asteroid, 2024 YR24, or what's it for? It was a high risk. If it had impact Earth, it could cause serious damage. But it's not on a mass extinction level event. It was I think it was like I think it was 0.01% to 0.005% chance this actually could hit us, but no longer. It seems that this asteroid is going to hit the moon, which has 4% chance. And if it happens to hit on the moon, it will create a 1 mile big crater on the surface. Yeah, so by the way, Malachite, cosmic sun glow is really pretty colors. If you know him, he'll probably do so many more. And I can say this, for the past week or so, Malachite actually have been using Perchance, an AI website where you can basically create anything with AI. And again, another thing about this, the Persians, it has different options of style. You can use professional artists, the professional photo setting. Like if you make something, if you just, and also Persians, you can put in the description of what you want to have. Say, if you want to have a picture of a sunset of the ocean, it was definitely gave that, and even has Disney 2Ds, 3D version, and even has manga setting as an option to make this style as manga, and even anime, and even furry. It's incredible. And Malachite has recently been using his to create some bedroom themes with all kinds. That's impressive.
As well as creating pictures of trains with faces concerned for years since I was two. I've been a Thomas the Tank Engine fan.
Yep. But even over Perchance, there is also this has another setting called cursed photo. And also there is even one setting that says no style. And it's even though this AI, but you create something, and unfortunately sometimes it kind of would mess up. I mean, I can create ask for to make some character from say a Disney movie or like say one of the say Jasmine if she's standing doing something, and sometimes when it's happened that even Persians is so accurate, it's amazing, but sometimes it can create almost like if she has two legs or three legs or even three arms or her face is torn or something like that. But it's unfortunately it's part of it. But Brandy Cruz, hello, yeah, it's just me and my friend Malachite, aka Many OC guy. Yeah, he has created so many OCs. Even I lost counts.
Yeah, and the thing,
Probably like more than
and,
probably more than
and the
100.
thing, if you're still here, get this. Perchance also had a Pokemon, a few Pokemon sayings,
Oh
and
yeah, that
when I started doing them, my uncle ended up telling me that this site is like non-copyrighted pictures because you're the one creating them. And
mm-hmm.
I sent Swedish some to show some of his viewers in a video, and one person told him, delete this video right now or I will unsubscribe from you. And I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
to myself, that's bullshit. That's bull crap.
Yeah, and yeah, and this person even said something like the okay, I don't know for precise word for word, but it was something like on the lines of that this is stealing art from artists. I mean, this is just it how things are. I mean, even though okay, I get this. Even though now this the fact when there are AI art that can't be looking really realistically. I mean, it this own art can look so real. Like it was like if it was being made by like it's almost like they could be an actually real person or a real animal or something, but it turned out to be AI. I mean, okay, if you go back just 1 year or even 6 months ago, some of the AI may not even be such advanced. But now it's so incredible that many people could probably even tell apart if that's AI or even real. Sometimes when I see some AI videos on YouTube or something, I can even tell if that's real or if that's AI. Because 6 months ago or so, it was more clearly that you could tell. But now, it's kind of a bit scary of that. But it's also impressive how the AI were getting so advanced. And even Google is using AI if you're searching for something. Okay, that is as a part of search engine search as a setting is pretty much useful. It can very much be very helpful to where you're looking into. And like I say, if you're looking offer to say if you're going somewhere and I was like, okay, I was like, okay, search for the distance between point A to point B. And I was like, okay, that's impressive. Um, I actually said this to my girlfriend yesterday. Malachi, did you know that you can actually go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower without leaving the U.S.?
That's crazy.
Well, there is actually two Eiffel Towers. One which would be in Las Vegas, but but the other one is actually in your
Oh,
homes
oh,
in your, and the second one is your own home state. This actually is located in a small town community called Paris in Michigan. No joke. And their Eiffel Tower, okay, it's not the same size as the original, but um, if I guess, maybe 7, 8 feet tall. But it's kind of surprising because when I searched this, like, wait, Paris, Michigan? I was like, okay. I thought like this is a big city. Not really. Turns out this is a small town, less than 300 people. So, but still, learn something new. If you're like you've seen any actual, say the Great Sphinx, you might think, do I have to go all the way to Cairo or Egypt? No, you can only go to Las Vegas because they have it there. Unless if you make your own. uh, Crazy things. Internet, am I right? So much crazy information. As for game jam say, internet is for porn. It's just only one of the settings. At least one of useful. Oh man.
Mm.
Yeah, and I also said in the beginning of the stream that Malachi, sorry, that game guy won't be here since his laptop in pain in the ass, pain in the butt, the battery's been acting up. That actually reminds me of the when I had my laptop and was battery was acting up. It's not because it was draining faster as what he is, but my old laptop years ago. The only the problem is that one is that the battery was overheating, and that's yeah, it's just if I can only pro when I if I were to make videos that one, I can only do that for maybe I think like 10, 15 minutes at max before I had to turn off the laptop and let it cool off for maybe an hour or two and turn on again after 2 to 3 hours and only be using for another 15 minutes max. It's kind of a strange. Even though I had a small fan underneath, and I did have this, there is actually a type of fan that can actually be placed underneath a laptop to cool down. I had one, but it broke down. So, yeah, that was a pretty big bummer, honestly. And that if that happened, okay, if I had this that type of laptop right now, and it happened, I wouldn't have been able to do streams this long. That means I have to log out, lay the stream active, come back after an hour and half an hour, stay on for 15 minutes, and log out again and come back. Yeah, that would not even be an option. And I just honestly think that's just pain. But I'm happy that this computer isn't acting up. At least not the same way, but yeah. So, what have you been doing?
Nothing much.
Yeah, same here. I haven't done much today except uh, got up around 2 in the afternoon. Didn't do much. Like yesterday when I was pretty pissed, or it was the day before, when my cat was pretty nasty. I even before the day before that happened, I did smell something funky in my apartment, and I had no idea what it were. So I just opened the window, and by the next day, it was gone. And that's the next day after that first high smell was gone. I actually went over. I went to work. Afterwards, I went to my parents' home for a few hours. And when I go home, I start to smell this smell. Not as the first time I had it, but this I have smelled something similar well, it's not similar, but something different before, but they only lasted for maybe an hour or so. But that was from outside. They were usually something like burned, smell like if someone was barbecuing or something, which I was okay with. But when I got home after my dad dropped me off, I can't even say exactly what the kind of smell was, but I looked around in my apartment, like in the living room, kitchen, bathroom, by my bed. But the only place the smell came from was by my side, my bed. And I was like, "What the?" I have no idea what the smell was. So I had this blanket that my girlfriend gave me, in a small pillow on the floor, just next to the bed. And I was like, "Ew." And it was not like it wasn't like old sweat or anything, but much funkier smell. I couldn't even say exactly what it were, but then only about a few hours later, my cat literally were on my bed, which wasn't the red flag at the time. But when I went to bed, I noticed a wet stain on the quilt. I had this quilt, but I have folded it to be like a pillow, which I always do. Since I usually have that over my head if I have a headache or something. But I saw this wet stain and I'm like, oh god dang! And I realized the cat had peed on my quilt. So I was like, screw you, cat! So I put everything in the laundry basket, and but that is not the worst of it. Very next day, early in the morning, around I think I guess between 8 and 9 in the morning, I was sleeping on the other end of the bed, and I noticed my cat was on the floor just next to me, and I had put a pair of sweatpants because I was using them the day before, and he was there, and he had literally just peed on them. And when I put them in the laundry basket, and when I came back to my bed, I noticed there was a small puddle of cat pee on the floor. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I was like,
Your
"Yeah,
cat,
I
your
was,
cat must be a heavy, your cat must be a heavy drinker.
yeah, probably." But I scolded him. But this is not the first time he peed on something. So because only about a week earlier or something, I had this pretty much clean pair of shorts lay on the floor. I'd only used them only the day before, and I did notice with a stain on them, and he had peed on them as well. But this is not the only time, because even before that, he had peed on two smaller carpets that I had on each side of my bed, and 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 he dragged his butt. After using the litter box, he dragged his butt on two carpets by the front door and in the living room. But luckily though, it was no stain marks afterwards. But and even the thing, okay, if he had peed on those carpet in the living room, okay, I could just put them in the washing machine. No, I couldn't because there's a that's the washing machine has a limit, a weight limit, and it's a small washing machine. And those carpets, uh, if I give a guess, I haven't actually looked into how big they are, but I guess maybe 3 feet. or around maybe okay, not 1 feet, 3 feet, but probably like I guess maybe two, perhaps okay, between 3 or 4 feet long on the long side, and the short probably 2 feet, and that itself wouldn't work. And if the stain was small one, I could probably just scrubbing them by hand. But if it was a big or a lot of that, well, I would unfortunately wouldn't even be able to do that. And okay, I could just since I have a balcony, I'm like, okay, you could probably hang over on the edge. Nope, I can't. Because I have put up, well, I did, but my dad put up this cat net. It's literally a net to keep my cat from falling off the railing from a balcony since I live on the top floor. So I can't even put it there. Unless if I put over a doorway or a door, but luckily though. And so he even threw up yesterday or the day before on one of the carpets in the hallway. Luckily though, that was really much manageable, handled that well. So now he is on a strict diet because he weighs 16 pounds, and uh, and that's way too much for a cat. Even though I did look up for how much a cat usually would weigh, it's either between uh, a well, I never mind that I will let you some school up. But it was certainly weight between. My dad told me when he was here yesterday to help me with some things, and he told me that the weight can differ from cat to cat, and also from from breed of cats. One certain cat breed can weigh some certain weight, others can weigh much less, or some can even weigh much more than that, perhaps almost a double. It It's almost like the same dog breeds. Imagine like a Chihuahua, one of the small dogs, and to one of the big ones, like say Saint Bernards or even a Great Dane, like Scooby Doo is. Yeah, so it's just but so now he's getting a strict diet. He's well, it's gonna be manageable. Oh, speaking of Scooby Doo, I saw this on YouTube the other day. This guy was actually walked up to this tank, and he looked in the barrel and asked if someone was in there, and there wasn't someone in there, but laughed like Scooby Doo. I was like, oh man, that was. I even had seen. I saw this video of a frog. A guy was holding the frog, and it's like, you have realized it had been captured, and it was like, and it literally gave off a moan, like a pleasure moan. I was like,
Uh,
that's weird. I seen a small, another frog that literally barked like a cat, like a dog. I saw one funny frog scene that this one particular frog was sitting on a fence post with it was sitting upright, like as well like if we are sitting in a chair with his legs down and at the front legs almost in his lap, and I said, and the guy who was filming it, can you do a flip? And the frog literally turned and jumped off the fence. I was like, oh man, Animal Kingdom. Some animals are pretty hilarious, but some are.
you know what? I remember one time being in my school. One of the teachers, in the classroom, had a tank that had two hermit crabs in it, and she took one on and asked me if I wanted to hold it. And I was sort of enjoying holding. The legs came out, but the instant one of the claws touched me, I almost dropped it.
Oh. Yeah, that's wow. Though there, if you saw this particular frog on the ground or on the wall in your home, it's if it is like say either blue, yellow with black spots on it, Randall, you're probably like, fuck no, bye. It's for a damn good reason. Because if one single touch, you're dead. Poison arrow frogs. Even though they're beautiful, but they're deadly. They are beautiful. I've seen some of them in real life. Sure, they're beautiful, but I would never want to touch them. Yeah, so it was like say the Goliath spider, one of the big bird spiders, like those one of those big headed ones. Yeah, so I mean, frogs and any other animals are beautiful. Like the poison arrow frog, beautiful, but deadly. So if you saw a frog that's either yellow, red, or blue with black spots on its body on the wall, yeah, back off fast because A is dead and dangerous, and B, well, actually, it's just only one, but it's basically deadly, so deadly that you would be you would be dead shortly afterwards. It's it's on how that dangerous it is. They may be beautiful to be looking at, but it's not worth to even touch. Believe me, it is not worth it. Unless you have a death wish. But yeah, it's just
Hmm.
yeah.
I believe I've told you before. This guy, John 3800, shout out to him by the way, JON 3800, lives up in Canada. He feeds lots of tarantulas and true spiders.
Awesome. That's pretty
Like
cool.
like in some of his videos, like I've seen him feed brown huntsmans. Um, he he actually also at one point had a Madagascar fishing spider, which is also a Madagascar wandering spider. Um, he had he has a six-eyed sand spider, which is venomous. Um, he had a few jumping spiders. Um, a Brazilian wandering spider. Yeah, he actually got a Brazilian wandering spider, which is also quite venomous. He has and a lot of his tarantulas, they don't really show threat postures, but they do enjoy showing him some pretty good, crazy attacks on what he feeds them. And I always laugh at him whenever he, whenever he was feeding one of the spiders he had. Eh, he has two Indian ornamental spiders named Zelda and Pandora. And whenever he feeds whenever he was feeding Pandora, I was like, "You better not leave her door open,"
Yeah, like a reference
because
from the Greek mythology.
I think he may have accidentally left her door open one time, and she almost got out.
Well, that's yeah, that's as long as the spider wasn't that venomous or even that dangerous, it would have been fine.
Well,
But the snake,
the
again,
Indian ornamental is quite skittish and fast skittish.
Um, how would you react if you saw a spider outside your window, your bedroom window on the ground that was say I don't know 4 to 5 feet long, but stretched out of the leg, like just strolling on the backyard out the street? How would you react?
I would say, nope, I'm not letting my dogs out anytime soon.
Yeah, and if I got it so that like she like hell no, where is my freaking flamethrower? I mean, she is
But
terrified of spiders, but I mean, if I pulled off, like say the prank of like say putting a fake spider, like those big hairy spiders on her chest when sleep, or
she'd
have
probably
it
make you
hanging
sleep on the
above.
couch.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised of that. But as a worst case scenario, she's like, I'm leaving you for someone way better. But if she saw spiders on the wall with fake spider web with plastic spiders and walk by, yeah, she wouldn't even be scared from that. She would have at least know that they are fake, like they're part of the Halloween decorations. And if she's seen those, I have seen pictures of people actually put up big spiders, like fake ones, on the outside of the house on the wall for Halloween decorations. I mean, if I put it like that in the on the outside or in the on the along the wall, and if she saw me put it up, she would knew that the fact that was a fake one. But if I like put it up and she saw it, there's like a 50-50 if she's seeing that immediately that's a fake spider, or if she's seeing that she thinks that's a real spider, then she will freak out. So yeah, so if I put up some spiders in the apartment or in her place, yeah, well, especially if it's like Halloween, I will make sure that to buy spiders that they look like plastic spiders, like they're just pure simple. You can't even tell from a short distance that they are fake. But now these days, you are find some things that you can buy that looks really real, like baby dolls. There are some dolls like that can look very much as a real baby. And I was like, whoa, that's woo, that's freaky. So if they can do that, why not even buy some spiders, lizards, snakes, you name it. But if I put up something on Spider for as a prank to my girlfriend, I hope I don't get her pissed off because I don't want that. Yeah, I just I will make sure that I don't do that. And if I put up some spiders, some decorations, I will always tell her right away in advance, or at least show her they're fake. I would even like if some people like dare me to do hang up some plastic spider above her bed over her face when she sleeps, or even use like a fishing pole about her face and like, hey, honey, and if she just wakes up and like screaming like a banshee, well, like you said, I probably like sleep on the couch for days, and I like, and if like say if someone who dared me to do it and ask, okay, was it worth it, dude? Why the hell will you do that as a surprise to hang a spider above my girlfriend's face if you know that she is terrified of it and now she makes me sleep on the couch? So you think that is a success? Hell no. So yeah, um, if anyone dare me to do that, I'm like, nope, no, there's no way in hell I do that. I'd rather been do some pranks of my girlfriend actually put up some black plastic like toy plastic spiders in there, maybe on the table, maybe on the floor, the wall, but or at least she knows that they're plastic spiders. But yeah, No, thank you. I don't even want to be that stupid. Thank you very much. I mean, I just no.
Hmm.
Well, what else to talk about? I have no idea. Do you want to do some military afterwards? Or,
Hmm.
I mean, I can be down for do some, maybe, I don't know, 3, 4 rounds of that. I mean, I have nothing else to do anyways.
Hmm. We could. I have no issue.
Well, I'll probably end the stream here is shortly anyway, since nearly 2 hours, and I don't even know what else to talk about. Man, it's just well. I think I edit here and then gonna have the game set up for a few rounds. Unless you're too tired for that.
Yeah.
Well, everyone has been fun. Just me, but most majority of the time, and until this um, sunset lookalike showed up.
I could see Cosmic and Sunset as a true love.
Yeah. So yeah. So until next time would be like the next Friday, which I never did yesterday. But yeah, until then, this is Switch Diablo signing off. Bye.
Bye.
And if you see Trump, run. And if he asks you something, just
Just
ignore
walk
him.
away.